welcome to the CrackOn podcast, hosted by me, John Saunders. CrackOn. Hey guys, hope you're well. Right, Series 2, Episode 7. Jess Morgan, Tiny Wizard Studio, freelanced, went out on her own about 10 years ago. For me, an all-round CrackOn individual person, businesswoman, leader, just a really all-round lovely, lovely lady. So can't wait. Without further ado, Jess Morgan. Good morning, Jess. How are you doing?
Morning. I'm good. Thanks, John.
Good. Or should I say Bore da? Actually, you said it's quite sunny back in Wales, huh?
Bore da. It is indeed. It feels like the height of summer already. So I'm getting wildly excited about it, which I shouldn't, because it'll probably only last about 3 days.
Knowing Wales like I do, I know you're probably right with that.
Yeah, we've got to take the sun and embrace it where we can, because it'll go away again. Really.
Absolutely. So yeah, thanks first off for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
So we're going to get straight into it. We'll go straight into the first two questions I ask everyone. So what does CrackOn mean to you?
CrackOn, I think it's sort of a state of being more than anything. I think you either have that attitude or you don't, or you're learning to have it. But I think it's just about making progress and just to keep moving forward, even if they're tiny steps, even tiny nudges towards your goal, it's still movement and improvement rather than standing still. And one of the things I've learned is waiting for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity is never a good use of time. So that's just keep cracking on, keep making small improvements, keep moving a little bit, even if it's tiny. Do one thing today that moves you closer to your goal, or who you want to be, where you want to be, who you want to be with. That's moving, and it's better than standing still. So I think that's probably what it means to me, to keep moving.
Yeah, I'll come to a second question. Let me just pull that one out a little bit. So is there anything you do for the listeners? Is there anything you do specifically to, you said about mentioning goals and you mentioned that one step. Is there anything you do as a good tool that people could take away?
I think when you're overwhelmed or when there's a lot going on and you think, I just need to stop and I need a break and I need to not think about anything. I'm not great at that. I'm not great at sitting still or relaxing. So, but we all need that space time. But in those times, if you can do something that is valuable to you, to your mental health, to your physical health, even just a little something that's just not staying still or sitting down. So even if I'm having a rare day off, or I feel like I need some headspace, it's getting out there and doing something. So my thing is walking with the dog. We live in a really beautiful part of Wales, so getting out and just clearing my headspace is still doing something, if you see what I mean, to help move forward.
So do you have goals, and do you have like a journal or anything like that daily that you record things, or?
I don't keep. I do use a journal, but it's more of a now and again thing. I mainly call myself a bit of a daydreamer, and it's how we've worked really well. So when it comes to setting goals, we do the practical stuff. So we actually do 10-year plans, 5-year plans in our personal lives and in business, quarterly plans, monthly plans, weekly plans, daily lists of what we've got to accomplish that day. So we do all that practical stuff, so it's written down and we know what we've got to achieve and we've got something to measure ourselves against. But daydreaming is really my favorite thing, just thinking about, if I achieve all these goals, where will I be in 5 years? Where will I be next week? How will I feel about it? Will I feel good? Will it improve my family's lives? Will it improve my relationships? Just daydreaming and thinking, and even on a superficial level as well, what kind of house will I be living in 10 years? That stuff motivates me. So daydreaming is underrated, I think.
Yeah, do you know what? I totally agree with you on that. I think everyone should have a dream, and I think the That word daydream is a cracker, actually. I love that because it is about daydreaming, isn't it? You know, you've got to aim for that goal.
Absolutely. And write it down, write it down and read over it. And it might change next week, but I think it's good to dream, and it's good to have a plan to try and make those dreams happen.
Cool. Well, we're going to come to your dreams in a bit. The second question then. So I put about who is an idol or someone like a mentors in your life? Is there anyone particularly you've seen over, you've used as that person?
Yeah, definitely. I think the term idol I feel slightly uncomfortable with, because I think I don't have anyone that I, obsessively follow or admire, either well known or isn't, because I think in some respects it's a little bit of a waste of time, because in real life everyone has their flaws. So I don't think you can have an idol that will live up to the expectations in everything they do, because everybody's human. I just prefer to keep my ears open, read as much as I can, listen to podcasts. And sometimes it's quite funny, golden nuggets come from people, that you wouldn't think they would. So like once our next door neighbor, we were just chatting over the fence and stuff, and it was just a little treasure of a quote that came out of her, and it was, one impossible thing at a time, because we were talking about how to entertain the kids that day during lockdown. And we were like, oh, we really like that, because that's nothing's impossible, but one impossible thing at a time, and tread lightly and slowly. So that was really nice. So I think just listening to people and their experiences and stuff is really valuable. But we do have, I think I love her is not an overstatement. Our business coach, Cassandra, has been a tremendous support and influence on us for the last nearly 3 years now. And I don't think I could be in business without her, really. By my side, like by our side. She's a business coach and mentor. So we got in touch with her when we were sort of at a bit of a crossroads. So just for background sake, I run the business with my husband as well. So he's project manager and director. And we were at a bit of a crossroads where, we had a really young family. We'd moved out to the country, and we were like, oh, we're grown-ups. We have to make this work now. We're not just playing at it and winging it. This has to be something that's going to be sustainable, and we're going to have to build, we want to make this work. So we reached out to her after I'd heard about her through another friend, and sort of explored how she could help us. And it was just really enlightening to have someone who you could lean on, who could ask those questions, but also would push you to be the best that you could be and ask those difficult questions. And she's been, we've gone from 3 to 9 in the last 2 years because of the support and supporting our dreams, really, our personal dreams as well as our business dreams. So I think she's a real life person that I talk to and spend time with. So I'd rather put her on a bit of a pedestal there.
That's awesome. That's awesome, because I think people forget when you get into your own business how lonely it actually is, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Dave and I struggled especially because we didn't feel like we had anyone we could share our successes with, the wins and the failures with, because we didn't have a network that was going through the same thing. So, we were sat there on a Friday night going, oh, we made target this week, our business target. That's amazing. Yeah. But we didn't have anyone we could say that to who would understand what the hell we were talking about and, how significant that was to us. So having someone there that you could say, oh, we're able to pay ourselves this month. Yay, and celebrate that with someone is important, definitely.
Absolutely, and it's a mutual friend actually. We both. I had a business coach when I had my own business, and I just had the wrong coach. And I think we the highs and lows of it. But I just remember those they are lonely times. You do need to celebrate and you've had lots to celebrate as well. It's you're in a great place at the moment. It looks like you're growing from the team's grown, like you said, tonight. How's the agency going at the moment?
It's been amazing, to be honest, the last couple of years. I still feel quite uncomfortable saying that out loud, because it's not been a great year for lots of people in business. So you feel like you can't really shout that loud about how well things are going. But on the other side of that is we worked damn hard to make it work. We've had to adapt, we've had to shift our offerings, we've had to think about who we really, really want to be working with and what the actual vision is for this, rather than just saying, right, let's just survive. So I think it's been like everybody's been looking inwards and, how can I improve myself, and how can I take this time to, become a better person. We've done that with the business as well, and said, right, now is the time to knuckle down and be who we want to be. And I really feel like now, because of how we're coming out of it, that we're much stronger because of that challenge last April, when we thought we were doomed, and that was it.
And but those people that it's fair to say, those people that have grasped the change, there is a lot of in that nicest way, there's a lot of money out there, because there's a lot of money being pumped into the economy. There's a lot of money out there, but there is opportunity still. And there are, for those people that are sat there listening to this, what would be your advice to them regarding, if they sit there and think, well, we're all doomed and there's nothing to go? What would your advice be to them?
I think the team would laugh if they're listening to this, because
we all listen to it, hopefully.
Back to basics. I never understand when I hear business owners or anyone say, oh, I'll ring them back later. Oh, I'll reply to that message later. Oh, I'll have a think about that and see how I feel in a bit. And I'm sat there going, that's an opportunity. Someone else is going to get in there if you don't, get a wiggle on. And I'm not even exaggerating that is how I started as a freelancer 10 years ago. I said yes to everything. I answered the phone to everything. I said yes to speaking engagements that absolutely terrified me, because I thought there'll be people there that I want to talk to. I never didn't answer someone because I thought it wasn't relevant to me, or I didn't need them right at that time. And I think that's what always frustrates me, is, I'll leave that till tomorrow. And I'm there going, don't do that. You're missing out on something. Someone else will get in there before you. So I think that is my advice. Just be open to conversations, be responsive, be communicative, be on time. Ring people back when you say that you're going to ring them back.
Someone tells me I already know the last questions. I'm going to ask you 3 non-negotiables. When you said that, be on time. I would definitely be on time if I knew you had to be.
I just think it's rude, it's like stealing people's time. It means your time is more important than theirs, which is always bothered me. But that's a great personal pet peeve.
Such a great way of putting it that way. It is, isn't it? I don't get me wrong, you would have probably hated me 3 years ago, because my timekeeping, it's improved. I'm not saying it's impeccable, but it's improved a lot. And I think when you put it that way, your time is more important than the other person's. Even Clive Woodward said that on his podcast, the High Performance podcast. That's exact words. And it is exactly true, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of our culture points as well. We don't steal time. So I think that it works both ways. Like, I don't stand for it with clients if they're late for a Zoom meeting. I got other things to do. I'm not hanging around forever. That means you don't value what we do or what we're going to offer. And the same the other way around. I mean, we're all human. I'm not saying traffic doesn't happen and we're late occasionally, but it takes 2 seconds to pick up a phone, send a text saying, this is the reason, I will be there. I promise. This is, just the reason I'm running late to whatever it is. But time is. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So the culture, let's go into this, bang into culture. I'm really fascinated. What comes across with your agency, and it just comes across a really vibrant, you come across as really vibrant. So it's part of you within the business. But talk to me a bit more about your culture within your business.
The culture was something I talked to Cassandra about, actually, the first meeting we had, because I'd been through, well, in all honesty, I'd only been employed twice because I'm not very good at working for other people. So I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of experience of, office or work life, really. But what I did get from it was that there were always elements of having to pare back my personality. Other people had to pare back their personality or how they were. There were elements of a confusion between professionalism and being corporate. Like, you don't have to be. It just all bothered me, really, and it was never very comfortable. So when I started off a freelance career, like with being adamant that I was just going to be myself, and if people didn't like me, then that's cool. We probably shouldn't be working together anyway.
Yeah.
And I sort of took on that philosophy, and my worry about growing the agency was losing that, because I had this thought in my head that if you're going to be a big business or grow a business, you'd have to like somehow shrink into more corporate vibe. So I was worried about that, but Cassandra was like, that's something we know is important now, so we can work on that when we start employing. So it was important to find the right people. It's important to build an environment and atmosphere where people could be themselves, whoever they were. There's no egos, there's just talent and enthusiasm and excitement for what we do. I wanted people to feel excited and thrilled about coming to work every day, because I never felt like that. And I feel like it's a right that you should love what you do every day, because we all spend so much more time in work and with our colleagues, or we used to, than we did at home.
Yeah.
So I think is a human right that you should love coming to work and love what you do. So that was part of the culture, is just super important to me, and it's always something that I'm reminding the team and hanging on to.
And how have you done that? How have you done that in your, you said you're about recruiting. What sort of people, is there a specific way that you recruit, and is there a specific thing that, individuals that work within your organization have got to have?
No, there's nothing that anybody's got to have. It's just that we've got to make sure that we are all a good fit and that we all gel well together, because we want to be a collaborative team and we want to work really well on projects and have that teamwork atmosphere. So they haven't got to have anything, but it's just about making sure that they know who we are before they so they can make their own decisions about whether they want to be even involved in any of this. And the team have input on who comes in as well. So
brilliant. Talk me
we do a lot of
exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually recruiting for another animator now, and the whole recruitment process, the whole team is involved in it, and it's quite fun, because you can see who people are really excited about, and people who think, oh, well, we'd probably have to bring them out of their shell a little bit, or are we allowed to ask them this question in the interview to see how they feel about this? And it's a nice way to grow your work family, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's a better way to do it, rather than just, conveyor belt. This is your skill set. This is your job,
Yeah, no, totally. I give you a brief one. My wife will probably kill me for this, but my wife interviewed me. She was a team member back in Mega Bowl, and part of the ethos was the team interview the staff. And she interviewed me. She was part of the team. She was the first one I ever met. And then obviously we got married in Celavi 20 odd years ago, and here we are today. But it is such an important part of the team culture. I think it's amazing. I love that side of it. I think that makes it quite vibrant, and everyone's in it to win it, aren't they?
Yeah, and everyone wants everyone to succeed. And we kind of, Dave and I are married, so we're like, we live together, we've got family, and we're working together all day. So we're, the whole team know that as well, and we get on, and Dave gets on with the rest of the team. I get on with all of them. There's obviously, like, you know, certain barriers between employee and employer you can't get rid of, but we've just built something where we can go in, we can do an appraisal, we can have a serious conversation with a team member, but then we can go back up to the studio and make tea and, you know, chat about what everyone's doing on the weekend. And it's one of those, I feel like I've done what I wanted to do with the team that we've got now, which is just makes me feel amazing. But it's not the end. We'll keep growing.
Skill that, Jess. Where do you think you built that skill up from? Because I've worked with my wife for, you know, we've worked on and off for like 10, 15 years together. There's a real skill within it, but where do you think that's developed from? Do you think that that's just come out, you know, is there a specific thing you pinpoint that to?
What, with the team or with?
Yeah, no, more like working with your husband and being able to take those, taking it home. You know, how have you dealt with that over time?
Well, 10 years of practice so far. It wasn't great at the beginning.
It always comes down to practice.
Yeah, practice. Yeah, I mean the first week, because Dave was in forensics for the police for a long time, and he was dabbling with animation and web on the side, and it was basically that when we were expecting our first kid, it was the catalyst really to make us think that, you know, now is the time, we really want to do this together, and if we're going to do it, we need to do it now so we can both be involved in home and family life and work life, because I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mum and give up my freelance career at the time. Dave wasn't that happy in his job, so it was kind of we jumped into it. But you know, the first couple of years were bickering, you know, trying to figure out who's top dog. It was sort of like one of those, it was challenging, you know, like who's arranging stuff. But over the years, we've got into a place where we know each other's responsibilities. We know that, you know, that's your call. We'll have a conversation about it, but ultimately that's down to you. Yeah. And we've got a nicely well-oiled machine now going, and it's nice, you know, it works really, really well. And we're both, the main thing is that we're both on the same page when it comes to goals, where we want to be, where we want the agency to go. And that's the key thing, I think. Yeah,
and how important is that? I think that there's a really key question regarding if you had different goals and different pathways, it'd be a lot harder, wouldn't it? You know, those goals are imperative to have those ones right between you.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked. I don't think.
No.
We've always been on the same path in terms of what we wanted out of life and like family and where we wanted to be. And actually building the business is why we're doing that, to get to those goals. Yeah. So it all ties into the same purpose, I guess, is the right way to do it. And yeah, we might clash on how to get there sometimes and what we should be doing, but the end horizon, we're both looking in the same direction, so it's quite easy to resolve anything then.
Yeah, and I bet over, you know, so we're going to go back. Let's go back to that time when you decided to go on your own, because part of this, the whole thing is a journey, and ultimately you are where you are now because of the journey you've gone through. But 10 years ago when you did it on your own, what was that like?
It was, I can't swear, can I? It was terrifying. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, this is adult free. Just do what you want.
Oh, it was absolutely, like, it was the right thing to do. I knew it was the right thing to do, but it didn't mean that it was, because I wasn't so much of a dreamer back then. I was like practical, you know, where's the paycheck coming in, and are we going to be able to do this? And Dave was much more of, Dave is the most annoying optimist. That's how I describe him, because I love just his positivity. Relentless.
I love both your positivity. I think that's the
well,
end.
He's taught me well.
You've got to be positive.
Yeah, he's taught me well, but he's relentless. He was like, it's going to be great. And I was like, how do you know? but he was good at dreaming, and then I was good at putting the plans in place to make those dreams work. So I remember I came home and I was like hysterical, crying, what have I done? This is going to be horrendous. Like, how am I ever going to survive? And I mean, it took, I'm not a wallower, should we say? So I think I did that for about 3 hours, and I was like, right, I need some clients now.
Yeah.
And then it was like on the phone, on LinkedIn, and just plowed on. And I think we always work best when we've got a challenge or a goal ahead, like that's quite imminent. So
Yeah. What was your first goal then? Do you remember that first goal?
Our first goal was to have the wedding and get married the way that we wanted to do it.
Right.
So we had we managed to do that in 2013, which was brilliant. And then we went to Vegas.
How was that? What was it? Tell us all about it. What was how did you want it?
Well, we did it sounds really terrible, but we did it quite
it's cool.
We did it quite cheap because we wanted to have an epic honeymoon. So we mostly spent all our money on Vegas and San Francisco because we'd always wanted to go there. And we sort of did, Cardiff City Hall party afterwards, which was great, but no sit down meal. You know, we did everything pared back a little bit so that we could have a massive holiday.
It sounds very similar to me. And actually, we went to Las Vegas and did LA, and we did exactly the same. Our honeymoon cost more than our wedding, so we're in the same boat as you.
Yeah, we were in the same mind. We were like, okay, that's one day, but this is 3 weeks, and we really want to like helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon. So it was kind of easy decisions from there, really. Apart from we did go, and it was government lockdown in America, so everything was closed.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it wasn't so great. So no helicopters.
That of a time.
I know. It's all right though. It worked out well.
Yeah, good. You still had a great time though.
Yes, yeah, that was amazing. Then we bought a house, and then got a dog, and then the babies came along, and it was kind of right, what do we do now? I was like, I don't want to give up work. Nobody's going to wait around for a freelancer to come off maternity leave. Like, how are we going to do this? And Dave was like, well, not loving the job. I love it, but I think it's going to get harder because he was in a difficult department with video forensics and things. So we thought, okay, let's take advantage of the maternity paternity split. The government were letting that happen now. So Dave basically took 6 months paternity leave. Cool. I carried on working, which obviously pre-baby, it's like, oh, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll be back to work after like a week. It'll be brilliant. Yeah. It's like the hardest time ever.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it was tough, but we were both at home because I was working from home. Anyway, we sort of tag teamed, and then our second arrived. Well, we started expecting our second 6 months after our first was born. So that kind of put the nail in the coffin then. Yeah, I know. Yeah, go big or go home.
Absolutely, let's get it all out the way. Come on.
Yeah, and that kind of made the decision for us then. You know, that Dave wasn't going to go back to work. He was going to carry on being primary carer for the kids while I built up my side of it at home. Yeah, and it's been
so some big decisions made then, because they're not small decisions, are they? They're big decisions to make.
No, yeah, they were big decisions, and there was a lot of me saying to Dave, "Are you sure about this?
Yeah.
Are you sure
Again,
you want to do this?"
Yin and yang, innit? Yin and yang working together is great.
Yeah, but it was really, really hard, and it was, you know, something that we're not going to do again. But it did.
I use a quote from Haley Parsons, actually. Haley Parsons always says, strap your balls on, it's going to be a rough ride, you know? And ultimately, the big decisions those decisions you make in the past, those big ones that you sacrificed, people don't see them. People don't feel them, do they? You know, they don't understand that, you know, and this is the bit that I really want to sort of highlight, is they're not easy decisions to make, but you've made them. And like I said, those hard choices have got you in there where you get into.
Absolutely. And we faced quite a lot of judgment in those early days. You know, David given up what everyone called a secure career to be a stay-at-home dad. I was, how they saw it, giving up my important motherhood time at the beginning in to work, and it wasn't quite that. It was actually, we were teaming up so that we could both be involved in our kids' lives and not have to, one of us not be in work 8-9 hours a day, come home, have that sort of your turn to take over stuff. You know, we didn't want that. We wanted to be equals and everything. And I think that's what we managed to achieve. But it was quite hard, you know, because frankly, I breastfed for maybe 2 or 3 weeks because I had to go back to work. Dave could take over. There was a lot of judgment, shall we say?
Yeah, and you said they. You know, I don't need to pinpoint who they were, but a lot of naysayers, should I say? Yeah,
lots of that. Oh, you're missing out on this, or you're doing that. It's like you've got no idea what we're missing out on or what we're gaining. You've got no clue. But in 5 years' time, I will be able to, and Dave will be able to take off all of the summer holidays and all of the Easter holidays to spend time with our kids because we put the hard work that we wanted to put in now.
Yeah. Creating the life you want.
Exactly. Yeah. People always take the mick out of me, family members especially, for being organized like weeks in advance and making plans and things. But that's the way I like to work because it's worked so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's again saying that, you look at the naysayers, and don't get me wrong. I mean, my view on it is you've got to listen to people that are close to you. I've got a group of network of friends. I don't know if you have, but I know if I go to them, I know they're making sense, right? They've got my own, but they're business people. They've taken choices, and if I ask them something, I've got to take their word for it. But a lot of family worry about anything that I do. You know,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because they've got your best interests at heart, and that they mean well most of the time, but they don't know the
I love that most of the time. I agree with you. I know what you're saying. I know, because they say it with love.
They say it with love, and they believe wholeheartedly what they say. But the problem is nobody knows the inner workings of another person's mind, or what is in their head. So I think it was a challenge, but it just made us more resilient and more adamant to carry on with, the plans that we had made and what we were going to do and what life was going to look like for us in 3-4 years if we knuckled down and cracked on basically with what we planned.
Let me just ask this question about paving your own destiny, because ultimately that's what you chose 10 years ago, didn't you? You chose to do it yourself and lay down your own. And you also said about not being able to fit, you're the wrong shape, I take it, in work. Yeah. So talk a bit more about that. How did you find that out? How did you know that?
Well, I've got a big mouth, so that is that is one element of it. Big mouth, opinionated, and I don't know, awkward, I think, if I don't get my own way, but I'll probably I think
you don't come across as a sulker like me.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean I'm wrong? What do you mean?
I'm a sore loser. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But
I'm exactly the same. And the reason I'm laughing is because me and you are very, very similar in people, right?
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah. I'm the person at the awards ceremony who's doing the awkward appreciation face, like clap, because actually I'm like really angry inside. Like I lost. I'm that person.
Don't put the film on me. Don't take a photo of me.
Yeah. I know, and I'm okay with admitting that because it just means I'm competitive and I want to succeed. So I'm okay with that.
But I think there's lots of misshapes. I mean, like I said, I'd like to class myself as one. There's lots out there that are misshapes. I just wonder whether there was, any moment or any memory that you've got that you thought, I tell you what, I definitely don't fit in this place, or this isn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, for me, it was mostly, I was a designer in both the jobs. So I was involved in a very small part of the wider process.
Right.
And I found it frustrating not to be involved in all of it. From pitching and initial meetings and research, design and presentations and all of that stuff. And I could feel my myself, you know, listening to presentations and things like that, going, oh, I would have said that. Oh, that's good. I could learn from that. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to use that next time. And I just felt an urge, I guess, to be involved in all of it, because it was kind of the thrill of the chase at the beginning to get that job or that client you wanted to work with, and you know, working through it and delivering something epic, and then the pride of being able to showcase that at the end was something that really, really appealed to me. I mean, I didn't realize how actually hard that would be in real life when it came to having to do all of that stuff for myself. But nevertheless, I think I thrive when I'm slightly out of my comfort zone, I think. Because I like a bit of a challenge. So if I'm sat at a desk just doing one thing all day, I'm going to get bored and irritable.
No, totally. And I totally agree. And it's interesting what you just say about that journey of not fitting. I think there's, this is my 14th, 15th, 16th podcast, and very similar traits that, you know, just didn't, you know, some people got pushed into it. Some people got sort of just naturally. Is there any sort of way that you found it?
What, leaving and jumping into?
Yeah, just like that was it. Now I'm going on my own. Was it a push or shove, or was it just a natural process?
It was a bit of a push, but it was a welcome push, shall we say?
Talk us through that. What was the push?
I was basically doing freelance work on the side to boost my income.
Yeah.
And also to get that control over the whole process.
Yeah.
So, and I was under the impression that doing that on the side was okay. Turns out it wasn't. So there was a bit of a show up. But I think it was in
your contract. No, that's the bit I didn't read. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was stupid, and it was, you know, probably naive of me. It was my second job. I was like, what, 20, 23.
Yeah.
But, you know, looking back as an employer now, I totally get why all that I totally understand. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that was a bit shitty of me to do that. So I think, you know, that was a big moment. But I think, you know, like I said, I was panicking about it for 3 hours, but I knew I was going to be freelancing after that. I knew I wasn't going to go applying for another job.
Yeah.
So it was a welcome push and a welcome.
It's like a lot of people, you know, people would be made redundant. A lot of the stories that come from it afterwards, it's a bit like me losing 29 Park Place. It's the best thing that happened to me, because actually at the time, yes, it hurt, man. You know, it really hurt, and it kicks you in the balls. Part of my language, but do you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it allowed me to just find myself so much more. You know, same thing, isn't it?
And it is. Yeah, and it is the best thing that ever happened to me. Definitely. And Dave says it all the time. He says the best thing that's ever happened to us was you having that little push, because he reckons I probably wouldn't have done it off my own bat if I hadn't had a little bit of a shove.
And
because it was
the part of that means that people, you know, you've got to look, you know, you come across, and you both come across as silver lining people. There's a silver lining. There's a reason for everything. It might, you know, I firmly believe it, but it does come across in you that actually that's going to happen. I'll get on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. And also that you have more control over situations than you think.
Yeah.
Even if it's in terms of changing how you're thinking about it, is changing the situation. So, you know, for instance, if we lose a tender or something we really, really wanted, you know, I'm quite often that they're going, don't worry about it, on to the next thing. It wasn't right for us. You know, it's gone to the right person who can handle it better than us, or whatever it is, because there's no point going, that was shit. It's going to ruin my day. It's going to ruin my month. And I'm going to like dwell on that forever, because you can't change it. It's gone. So you can change what your brain tells you how to react to it.
Is it that acceptance phase or not?
More so now.
Yeah.
These last couple of years, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think the first ones I was like stomping and screaming around my living room going, this is shit, I can't believe this happened. It should have gone to us, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But now it is more acceptance, because I've learned that, you know, there's a lot, like you said earlier, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of people who are looking for us. So
And how do you found that change? I mean, obviously, I was coming to that because it looks like some of your clients are awesome, you know, and they're lucky to have you as well. From an outsider looking in, you can see that it really matches well. But as the client base changed over time, and as the amount of inquiries that are coming in, are they just different? You know, they bigger clients, and has that changed over time?
Yes, it has changed now. I think I still maintain that, you know, building relationships and like work with should, you know, anyone, because and it makes for a better project at the end of the day anyway. But it has changed, and I know why it's changed, because we did our rebrand last April, from Jessica Draws to Tiny Wizard Studio, because that was my freelance name. That was what I was working under. And there was a lot of what's the word? Well, people thought it was illustrating into. So, I mean, when the pandemic hit last March, I was going through a bit of a difficult personal time anyway, with a couple of family losses, and it was kind of a caterpillar cocoon moment. I was like, right, we need to reinvent ourselves now, because there's going to be new challenges ahead, and we can't be riding through this storm in the same way. Like, something's got to change. So we rebranded. I had this vision in my head of how that would look, and I think since then, and since we ramped up talking about who we are and how we work, the clients and the inquiries we're getting in now are different, which is exciting, but I still treat them all the same.
No, I bet you do.
Yeah.
Because, from an outsider again looking in, because of how you portray your studio and your team, and that, and the work you've done in the background with Cassandra, you can see that it's developing and growing, and it's brilliant to see.
Yeah, it's exciting. It is really exciting. I still have to pinch myself and go, you are a grown-up, so keep that in mind.
Well. So we're going to come to the last three questions. Actually, the next question of the last three worked really well with what you just talked about. So what are the three non-negotiables to come into the studio and the Jess's life? What are the three non-negotiables?
No room for egos. Absolutely no room for egos. In personal life, in the studio life, in the team, or clients, anywhere. There's just no room. That's definitely one. I think comfort zones are where ambition and achievement goes to die. So I think as soon as I'm a little bit bored, or coming to work is easy, and there's not much going on, that's when I'm like, right, we need a new challenge, and what are we going to do today, and what are we going to do to ramp up the excitement?
I love that.
Don't work for free. Don't work for free. Never work for free. Even if you're starting out as a freelancer, and you think or someone says to you, some idiot says to you, this will be really good for your portfolio and it'll raise your profile, tell them to get lost. Because if you don't value your work and your time and the skills and the time you put into building those skills, then nobody else is going to value them either. So I think I need artists and designers and animators and all these people starting out to put their foot down and not work for free.
Oh, my dog's in the background. Definitely. He's got a kid. Teddy.
That's all right. I'm surprised mine hasn't gone off yet either.
I don't know why he's barking. Do you know what? He's turned into a barker overnight. I don't know what's wrong with him, but brilliant on that one. Right, last two then. Any advice? No, that's my last one. The biggest life lesson for Jess so far.
10. I think always remember why you're doing what you're doing and what the end goal is.
Yeah.
Because it can feel like a massive hurdle or a huge thing to do that day that is really bumming you out, or you really don't want to do, or you're procrastinating. So it's easier. It makes it easier to think about the big picture. And if by doing this, it will get you to this place, and that will get you to this place, and then the overall big picture. I think it's the daydreaming thing again. The daydreaming thing has really, really helped me remember why we're doing it. You know, it was to build a life where we could spend time with our kids and equally, and be a bit more flexible, and build an environment where people really love to come to work. So I think remembering those things is I should have them written down somewhere. Now I'm saying it out loud.
No, but you know, they're brilliant. I love it. Because actually, I was going to say I'm going to come to the end, but I want to join your team. So okay. I will one day. I will.
Amazing.
Last question. If you were to go back to an 18-year-old Jess, because what we didn't mention is you went to the same university as me, UWIC. A bit after me, but I'm not going to mention my age. But we went to the same uni. If you were to go back to let's say an 18-year-old Jess, what advice would you give her?
I would.
And would you change anything?
It's difficult, that one, because if I say I wouldn't change anything, that sounds really arrogant.
No,
but
not at all.
I think I wouldn't, because I don't think I would be here now. I had to go through those, you know, I remember being in UWIC, and it was sort of like the given you had to carry sketchbooks around everywhere and be sketching and, like, you know, using it as a diary every day. And I was never the kind of designer or illustrator that would be sketching all the time.
Yeah.
I always needed a brief. I always needed a purpose to be doing it. I couldn't just do it off, you know, so I always felt a bit out of place, and it made me really awkward. And then I was like, oh, well, I should carry one around anyway. But I just ended up writing plans and lists and stuff in it, and feeling really out of place. And I think at the time I was, you know, questioning, I shouldn't be here. Probably I'm in the wrong place. But I think if I hadn't gone through that and then being able to look back at that and go, that is exactly who I am. I'm a list and a goal person, and I need a purpose to be able to be creating or designing something, and that's okay. So I think challenges.
What would you say to them? What one thing would you say? What word of advice would you know? What would you say?
I would probably say, just keep going. Feel free to say no when you don't think a project is right for you. You don't want to work with that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice in life. That's brilliant.
Yeah, learn to say no. And I would tell myself, my 18-year-old self, do not work for free.
Yeah, good. And that's how it is, isn't it? I love some of the snippets have been awesome. And I've got to be honest, I wish you and your husband and the team such a good luck, because I love watching what you're doing. I love commenting on what you're doing. I love seeing it's out of my comfort zone, the old imagery and design, but I love seeing it. And I think, Tiny Wizard Studio is going to go from strength to strength. And I wish you all the best, and thank you ever so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I hope so too.
Yeah, no, honestly, it will do. And I'll see you soon for definite. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me.
So there we go. Jess Morgan. Really loved her honesty. Love the culture she's growing in the design agency. I also really, really got a lot from the journey. And it's about the journey not being as simple as from A to B. Yeah, it's not ever going to be as simple as that. And she's had a knockback, she's had her challenges. And I think in business alone and in life, we're all going to get that. And we all have. And what I love about Jess, she did it all with a smile on her face. And you could just sense that lovely team in the Tiny Wizard Studio. You could just see, I want to be part of that team. And as I said through the podcast, I'd love to join her team. So yeah, and she mentioned Cassandra, the business coach, and other people influencing her life. Like I said, really honest, loved it. Such an inspiration. And yeah, like I said, a friend. If you want to get in touch and reach out, but like it, share it, like I said, give us some feedback. But have a great day and crack on. Crack on.